What's good, YouTube? Andre here with the DM Network, y'all. And if you're new to the channel, raise your hands, lend me your subscriptions, y'all. Help us to grow. We're trying to reach 10,000 subscribers, and it's not possible without you guys. I upload videos 7 days a week. So don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss a single upload. Now on with the video. So today I want to talk about a subscriber discussion. And the subscriber that gave the topic of discussion for today, and this is Dragon Ball Project Z based, is Leezy Marino. So shout out to you, Leezy. He said next video cover potential training methods, Bulma's training pods, Mr. Popo, hyperbolic time chamber, Kami, training clothing, items, etc. I want it all. And I told him that I would discuss that today. So that's what we're going to talk about. I've done a couple of videos now on training, and I love the topic because with this being an RPG, to me, the biggest thing that is missing from Dragon Ball, in my opinion, the games, is training. You know, training in Xenoverse, you have to fight a master and you beat him and you get a skill. You know, I think the realest element of training was probably in Dragon Ball Ultimate Tenkaichi, where you actually had to fight. You know, you had to actually train with your trainer. Um, Sorry about that, y'all, but I really would like them to make it more realistic. Like in my spare time, if I don't want to do any missions, I should be able to go and train and get stronger. You see what I'm saying? And I understand people are gonna say, well, technically, Andre, if you play in the game and you go, doing some fights, you're technically training because you're getting better at the game. Yes, I'm getting better as far as my stick skills, but I also want my character in the game to get better as far as their strength, their power level, their speed, their quickness, and things like that. So, but he said training methods. So, first of all, um, what methods of training? Now we know in Dragon Ball they use various methods, and they've trained with Mr. Popo. They've trained in the hyperbolic time chamber. They've done the mental training. Um, they've trained Vegeta trains in his anti grav or his gravity room. In Bulma's training pods, I'm assuming that's what Mr. Marino is referring to there. The lookout, they've trained there. And then also, yeah, clothing items. Goku wears weighted clothing. Piccolo wears weighted clothing. You know, and even in like Dokkan Battle and in Dragon Ball Legends, you have weighted items to assist you in training. They need to implement that into this game, into an open world game, or potentially open. Regardless, they need to implement that into this game. You know. Now, what I said before about training as far as locations go is there should be maybe access cards or capsules that you have to go and train at these locations. Otherwise, everybody would just go train in the hyperbolic time chamber and get strong like overnight, just crazy strong, There's with it being an RPG, they need to implement a system that gives you a certain drop that allows you to train in certain locations, just like they do in Dokkan Battle. It's an acquirement. Now, the easiest places to train, just outside or mental training, should be free. I mean, because you could do that at any point in time. But as far as the special training locations, because nothing made Goku happier than being able to go train in a special place that nobody else was able to train at, i.e., King Kai. After he got on Snake Way, who's trained with King Kai? Well, yeah, the other Z fighters have after they died, but Goku was the one to do it first. And him being able to train in the hyperbolic time chamber, and him being able to train or potentially train with the Grand Kai, whenever after the Cell saga, before during the Majin Buu saga when he was in Otherworld, and then also with him training with Whis, in Dragon Ball Super. And if you look at early Dragon Ball Z, even when Yamcha and them found out that they were going to get to train with Korin, on his tower, people they were like ecstatic. Oh my gosh, people look up to their trainers. That is essential in Dragon Ball, and I have not seen that represented in the games. So with it being an RPG, that's the perfect foundation to implement a system that's going to give you specific drops that will allow you to train with different masters, and based off of those masters, you can acquire different techniques or you can increase stats different degrees of greatness. For instance, training with King Kai will give you more boost than training on Earth in the grassland, primarily because King Kai's planet. Sorry, y'all. King Kai's planet has 10 times the gravity of Earth. You know what I'm saying? And then training in Bulma's not time chamber, but her gravity machine that Vegeta trains in would also give you a greater boost because you're able to adjust the gravity. But here's the thing about the gravity thing, they should do it like they did in Dragon Ball Legend of the Super Saiyan on Super Nintendo, where when you trained on King Kai's planet, you had to get acclimated to the gravity. You couldn't just go on there and just do all willy-nilly. No, you had to actually build up your strength to be able to jump on his planet and catch Bubbles and Gregory. They need to keep that same realism to that. And also the same thing with the gravity room, because what happened to Yamcha when he went in there trying to outdo Vegeta in Bulma's gravity chamber? The gravity crushed him. You know what I'm saying? Make that realistic. I should not be able to go into the gravity room and automatically put it on 100 times Earth's gravity and that should suffice. No, I will get crushed and I will die in the game. Make it like that. So we have to start out low and work our way up. Now, what will training with gravity increase? Well, you need strength. So training, you have to have a certain strength level to be able to train on Earth's gravity or on different gravity settings. And then once you get into the real world, once you've completed that, then it's going to not only increase your strength, but it's going to also increase your speed. Why? Because you're lighter, so you're able to move faster. So training somewhere with a high gravity should require you to have a certain strength level, and it should increase your strength as well as your speed in the game. And I hope that they have those different attributes as well, because as far as fighting in martial arts, we all know strength is an issue. Strength is something that you have to have. And yeah, they have power levels, so it could essentially increase your power level, but also increase your speed, or it could increase your power level by increasing your speed. It depends on how they set up the attributes. Like you have your power level is basically your overall rating in a sense, and you have different things such as speed, ki, stamina, and stuff like that determines your power level as an entire unit or as an average of some sort. But then, like I said, so like for the hyperbolic time chamber, since that's one of the top places to train because you get a year's worth of training in a day, and in the hyperbolic time chamber, the further out you go, the thinner the air is. So that's going to increase your stamina. And I think the gravity also increases as well. So the hyperbolic time chamber is like your all-around training thing. That should be one of the top exotic or legendary, one of the rarest drops to be able to train there. But it should also provide the greatest benefits in the game. That's what I would like. Now, we know that during the story, there are times like in the Cell Saga where they go to the hyperbolic time chamber. And in my opinion, they could use that. Now, I know Goku did in Dragon Ball, but in Dragon Ball Z, they didn't use the hyperbolic time chamber into the Cell Saga. So if they have the Cell Saga in the game, make it to where the hyperbolic time chamber isn't unlocked or even available until you get to the Cell Saga. This is going to keep people from training in places that's going to allow them to just be so strong that they just fly through the game. However, I would like that possibility, because if I'm putting in the hours to train, it should be reflected on that. Because think if Goku and them had more time to train, what would have come of their fights? Probably a lot different than what initially happened and things like that. Now, as far as clothing goes, we talked a little bit about clothing yesterday, and we talked about clothing drops. So this is perfect that he mentioned this yesterday, and I'm gonna tie it into what we talked about yesterday with the clothing, because one of the other commenters and the subscribers we was talking about the clothing drops and things like that. Well, I told him I wasn't concerned with having different gi. Perfectly fine with having the gi that I have. What would be cool is if some of the clothing drops that you get are actually weighted clothing that you get to train in, that you can use to train in. or weighted clothing that, okay, say you wear it and say it's like say an extra, say 50 pounds. But if you wear it during your fights, then you get extra experience points if you win that fight. You see what I'm saying? So then it gives you an incentive to wear weighted clothing and to fight because it's going to make you better. Now, what will be really, really cool, which I don't think they'll probably do, is if you have on weighted clothing, give you the option to take it off. And if you take it off, it's going to boost your attributes in a sense. Because of course, if I'm wearing, say, 100 pounds extra of weighted clothing, then it will decrease my speed. So I won't be as fast. You see what I'm saying? But so if you want an advantage, if you're fighting somebody that's better than you should have the option to take off your weighted clothing and thus giving you a boost to your speed that could assist you in that battle. Or if you feel like you can handle them with the weighted clothing on, fight them with the weighted clothing. And then, you get that extra experience points for fighting with that debuff or with that buff of having a hit to your speed. You see what I'm saying? But that would be really, really cool because technically, if there are multiple characters in the game, this would fit everybody. Now, Vegeta doesn't wear weighted clothing. Goku does. Technically, Krillin does. If you look at his armbands, those are weighted bands. So technically, Krillin does, but the major characters, Goku does, Piccolo does, Gohan, his wristbands, I guess they're weighted, I would assume, but they never take them off after Z. I don't know if it's because Goku gotten used to having them on or whatever the case may be, just a plot hole in the anime, whatever. But I think that clothing should also be something that you're able to have in the game. I think that would be really, really cool as far as training. Mr. Popo, I don't know about